You know, when people do dumb shit like this further substantiates why I have no hope for you niggas. Now this video is really about my thoughts and the fall away action concerning the Unity event, the sucker punching, and the explanation. I'm going to try to keep this short and brief as I can, mainly because it wasn't my intention to make this video, but seeing how I've ruminated on it for a couple of days, I've decided I need to speak my piece. Now, in full disclosure, of course, many of you know I've been a fan of and a member of Soto Nation for some years now. I donate when I can. I participate in the live shows when I can. But, of course, in the last 16 to 24 months, my video production has slowed. So no, this is not an attempt for me to reinsert myself into the discourse. This is just me sharing an idea. Also, it is no known secret that generally when I see controversial topics, I usually either A, pick a side, or B, try to squash the piece. I think if you go through my video history, you will see I've actually done those things. And finally, in most cases, people will accuse me of having some sort of bias. I do not. What most people want me to do is find some fault with someone that I agree with. And on some minor issues, I have disagreed with Mr. Sotomayor, but on major issues, we find some commonality. Now, I'm only going to address the actual event as it occurred just once, and I'll say this. It was a very cowardly move. Now, don't get me wrong. I expected this sort of thing to happen. Namely because of the people he's dealing with. And namely because, well, most dudes don't know how to square up. So I'll say this. If you're going to steal on somebody, if you're going to sucker punch somebody, the main point of a sucker punch is to catch somebody completely unaware and knock them clean out. So that tells me one of two things. Either this man who got sucker punched has got an iron chin, or you niggas ain't got no strength in your punches. I'm apt to believe the latter. That being said, here's where I have a problem. My problem lies not in the issue of him getting sucker punched, although that in itself is a separate issue from this, but the way in which it was handled. Firstly, and this really goes out to Sonet on this, you have brought dishonor and disgrace upon yourself and everything that you claim to stand for. Number one, this man comes to your venue as a guest, which you had no problem with. You were chopping it up, you were there, y'all were talking. God knows what, I wasn't there, so I can't say what happened and what didn't. But the man comes to your event as a guest, and there's no problem. Now, what you're positing is the moment he steps outside your door, it's all bets is off. Now, I would liken it to this. Let's say you have a guest in your home. Now, we all expect, and some of us who are Southern born, y'all know the rules of Southern hospitality. Like me, of course. You would offer them some comfort, some food, some water. You take their coat, you see to their needs. You make a good impression. Part of that impression is seeing that no harm befalls your guests. And that doesn't extend to, well, on the inside of your door. That goes to the outside, to the edge of your property. And granted, this is New York City, so about the edge of your property really stops, in most people's minds, at the curb of the street. That being said, because this man was a guest in your home, should that not have extended to him? So what I wanted to know, Sonetta, was why was it this brother who did something, even though you yourself, which you had every right to not inform the police Why was it that you not found out who this brother was and dealt with him? Surely, if you're about consciousness, if you're about doing what's right and promoting the brotherhood, not getting the white man involved in your business and handling it amongst each other, surely you would have said, we can't have what happened to him in our event, because this looks bad on us as a brand. It looks bad on us for everything that we stand for. So whoever this man was, I want him found, and I'm going to deal with this man. That's a question I got to ask. Why did that happen? Why was that man not found out and made an example of? Now, I can't say for definitive fact, but the fact that that didn't happen, that there was no complete repudiation, there was no attempt to make restitution from what I have seen to the aggrieved party, I would think that even though you later came out and disavowed it on video, bullshit video as it was, I would think that there was some statement to be made behind that, and that was your intention, and you just didn't want to be connected to it because you knew if it came out that people who had an ideological disagreement with you could be assaulted on your venue, then clearly some people who may be a little bit more powerful or have a bit more notoriety or financial backing would not deal with you. Secondly, even after the fact, and it goes on to the issue of debates and whatnot, you say one thing and you do another. You say we're not going to fuck with him, we're not going to talk to him, he's a dead issue, or the words to the effect. But then you're in the man's text messages, which he showed. And that's primarily why this video got prompted. Let's just call it what it is, Sonetta. You are a would-be opportunist trying to make capitalism work for you on the backs of ignorant Negroes who are more emotion than logic and more expressive than factual. And what you did irreparably harms your brand. Not because of the Empress segment video interview, which that's a whole nother can of worms, but because overall your handling of this event has been obscenely poor. Let's just face the facts. The moment you put forth that position that you're not responsible for anything that goes on outside your front door, when outside of your front door is part of your venue, tells me that even if you disagree with this man, whom you've spoken to on numerous occasions, for whom you've tried to build a financial bridge with, for any other reason other than trying to actually help black people, for any particular ideological difference between the two of you, have you now stated that it doesn't matter, that I should be a good host? That, sir, is why your brand is ruined. It is the very focal point of this video. I will tell you honestly, anyone that deals with Sonetta at this point is an idiot. And it also goes to show, if this is what he would allow to someone who ideologically is opposed to him, diametrically I would even say, then imagine to someone for whom he has a disagreement and they have the same beliefs. Imagine what he would permit to happen. Now, this is not me going out sowing wild insinuations or wild ideas or wild unsubstantiated thought. This is simply an extrapolation based on what happened and what the man said out of his own fucking mouth. Consider this. If Sonetta cares so much about unity and consciousness, should he not now openly, publicly, in public forum, produce the man who did this, Doesn't have to show his face on camera. There are several camera techniques that can hide one's identity, and publicly repudiate that man. I would even go one step further. If he was really so militant about it, he would put hands and feet on that man. And let me just say openly, as a disclaimer right here, I am not encouraging violence amongst anyone. I am saying, in context, if this is how he really is, and this is what he's really about, and he's about protecting his image and brand, then surely he would take any measure that is necessary to protect that image and to show that this type of behavior is not tolerated, because it does bring discredit upon the name that that brand stands on, the idea that brand stands on. Now, yes, there were people who, in the conscious community at the time the incident occurred, by Tommy's own admission, so we don't need to go further than that stuck their hand out throughout the lifeline and brought that brother into safety. And that's respectable. I don't suppose there wasn't an ulterior motive, but let's not look a gift horse in the mouth, shall we? I'm going to close the video here by saying this. As I previously stated, anyone that follows this house of consciousness is an idiot. Mainly because if this is what he would do to someone who is diametrically opposed to him, someone who is ideologically aligned with him, you can imagine what he would do if he turned on you. It is not enough, ladies and gentlemen, that Sonetta should be ostracized for his actions, which are not only a poor representation of his brand and his ideology, but his failings as a man. As men, there is a code of honor and of ethics that we ought to uphold, especially if we claim to be conscious individuals, for which I am not part of the conscious community, by the way. I want to make that perfectly clear. But if we are to have a certain standard of how we conduct ourselves, and for the sake of record, I'm diametrically opposed to them, surely, as men, we could not tolerate this, whether we are on one camp or the other. Surely we can all come out and say this isn't right, and there should be justice, even if we decide that justice should be in our own hands to dispense and not the hands of the legal system. But this goes to show you that when you deal with these kinds of individuals, this is the kind of result you're going to get. These are Negroes who say this is what they stand for, and yet on the very opposite side of their own lip comes the words that undermines everything that they are. You're a crispy this, you're a coon that. If you're conscious, why would you disparage the thing you call beautiful? Melanin. If you're conscious, why would you tear down another black king because he disagrees with you? If you are conscious, why is it that you are not trying to reach your brother to save your brother because you think he's going down a path that will ultimately pull him under? The Bible says that Cain asked God, am I my brother's keeper? In New Jack City, that line was, am I my brother's keeper? And if you claim that you're conscious and you're about the uplifting of the black people, then your answer ultimately is, yes, I am. But what you see from these group of shines, these buck dancing, bojangling, boot licking, wannabe revolutionaries stuck in 1965, lost without a trace ass niggas, is that the only thing they've got going for them is that they are conscious in name only. These people are frauds, tricksters in true form. These are want to be Harry Houdini's. Except for the greatest trick that they've proved is that consciousness truly doesn't exist.